and welcome to iChess. My name is Christian Richter. I am International Master from Germany. In this video I want to show you some lines of the King's Indian opening. So the King's Indian, for those who don't know it, I show you the first moves. It's d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. Okay, the King's Indian opening are those moves from the black side. So black plays a fianchettoed with bishop g7 and black moves the pawn to d6 in order to prevent white's e5 and later attacks the center with c5 or e5. Yeah, the King's Indian is one of the modern openings, which means that you don't go in the center immediately, like in the Queen's Gambit, where you go d5 with black, but you just let white take the center first, but attack it later. That's the idea of all the Indian openings. And white has several setups against this opening, and what I've shown you here with c4, d4, e4 and knight c3 is probably the main setup for white, which is followed by knight f3, castles, bishop e2. This is the main position and in the King's Indian, and it's called the main line, the classical main line. Yeah, the King's Indian is a wide field of many variations, like the Sicilian opening. And thus, in this video, we cannot cover everything, of course, like you can't cover also in the Sicilian, not the Dragon and Sveshnikov and Scheveningen system and all the other systems. So we concentrate us here in this video on the classical main line, and especially on the line with ninth moves bishop e3. We see it later. So first I want to tell you a bit about the opening in general. So you may ask, why should I play this opening? This opening is not for players who want to go for the safest way to a draw, to achieve a draw with black pieces. So in this case, you may already press the stop button, because you should play maybe the Slav defense or the Queen's Gambit accepted, or other openings like the Queen's Indian, which try to play very safe, solid, and have the goal to achieve a draw. But with the King's Indian, you go for the fight. You want to get the full point. Yeah, and I think it's one of the openings against d4 which have the best score of all openings against d4. The other plus of this opening is you can play it against almost any first move of white. Okay, not against e4 if you don't want to play Pirk, but the Pirk is similar to the King's Indian, but against d4 or c4 or first knight f3 or g3, you always can play this first 5 moves from black. Now you may argue that the top players all play the Grünfeld or the Slav defense, but I just think it's a bit out of fashion and at the top grandmaster level, and maybe there are many players who really want to get the safe draw. That's what all professional players want. They say with black, I risk nothing, I go for a draw, I try to get a draw, and with white, I try to win, get a small advantage. But in history, many of the top players played the King's Indian opening, and most of them very successful. Yeah. Although it's a modern opening, I think the first games in my database appeared in 1851. So the opening is at least more than 160 years old. But of course, only in the 20th century, it became fashionable. So there were many world champions who played this opening, beginning, I think, by Max Euwe in the 1920s or 30s. And later on, it was played by Smyslov, Petrosyan, and very popular by Fischer, of course. And Kasparov was an expert in this. It was one of his main weapons against d4. And then it was even more in fashion after he played it. And yeah, still in those days now, from the top players, I think Radjabov and Nakamura may be the famous ones, or the strongest players who play it regularly. So I just can recommend you to play this opening. Sorry, I can recommend this opening to you. Yeah, I hope you don't hear too many mistakes in my English language, which is not too bad. But for that, I promise you will see a few hours of very entertaining, exciting chess. Yeah, and what we look at is one of the sharpest opening lines existing in chess. So let's go a few moves. Here black has different kind of moves, like c5, which may lead to Benoni kind of positions. Also other moves are here knight bd7 or knight a6, but the main move is still e5. Also here white has different moves. He could play d5, or he could play bishop e3, or the exchange variation. Yeah, but also here the main move, sorry, after e5 is just castles. Now knight c6, also knight a6 is possible here, but we want just to look at the main line, at the classical main line. Okay, here again there are other moves, but more than 90% of the games white plays d5 here. Knight goes to e7. Yeah, and now the center is closed. Yeah, black has this pawn chain on c7, d6, e5, and white, well, let's take another color, white has pawns on the white squares c4, d5, e4. And as the center is closed, of course you have to play on the queen side or on the king side. And with this pawn structure, it's obviously that black plays at the king side and will prepare the move f5 to attack the center and to gain space there. And white, of course, will play at the queen side, where the white side has more space, and white wants to play c5 later on. So that's what we have to understand. And now white has different moves. He can play b4, which obviously prepares c5, which is quite popular in the last couple of years. And other moves are knight d2 and knight e1. And I think still the main line in this position is knight to e1. It's the move which is most often played in this position. So, but now you may ask why the knight retreats to e1. So there are a few answers. First of all, we said that black wants to prepare f5, and for this the knight f6 has to go away, and if the knight would stay on f3, for example in the line with b4, the knight would go to h5 and may later go to f4, which is a nice square for the knight. So that's why white already here goes knight e1 or knight e2, with the idea also to play f3 after black played f5. And on d3 also the knight supports the c5 move and has some other ideas also in the defense, which we see later. So after knight e1, black plays knight d7 or also knight e8, but I would like to concentrate here in this video only on knight d7, which I would recommend. Both knight moves are well playable, of course, and in many cases the knight goes back to f6 and it would make no difference. But there are some subtleties. On d7, the knight may sometimes go to c5 or prevent the move c5, so that white has to prepare it better. Also, the knight on d7 in some cases may go to e5 in lines where white plays f4, which is also possible sideline. Okay, disadvantage of knight d7, of course, he blocks the own bishop from c8. And yeah, that's probably all I can say about knight d7. I hope I didn't forget anything. If the knight goes to e8, then in some cases he can take back on d6 after white has played c5 and c takes d. Also, knight on e8 would defend the c7 square if the c file will be opened, or if the c pawn is attacked. but it also has a disadvantage because it doesn't control c5, and one attacking maneuver from the black player is not possible then, which I want to show later. It's a maneuver in which the white queen needs to square e8 because this queen wants to go to h5. We will see this plan later. So that's why I would like to show knight d7. Here white has a choice of knight d3 or bishop e3 or also f3. But still the main move is bishop e3, and this leads us to one of the sharpest lines which are known in chess opening theory. And here it goes f5. Now there are, in the next 2-3 moves, there are not many other possibilities for both sides, as black has a threat f4 now. White plays f3 so that the bishop can retreat to f2, and black plays g5 here, gaining space on the king side and preparing the attack there. Yeah, and that's our starting position. From here we will look at the different possibilities for the white player. And now let's have a look at the board again. The situation in the center is clear, it's closed, as I said, and black attacks on the king side. And yeah, that's also a point which underlines the fact that this is a very interesting opening for a black player who wants to go for a win, because you may often think, if you face the move d4 when you play with the black pieces, that there might follow a boring game where the white player likes to get a small advantage. He tries to make some prophylactic moves so that you don't get counterplay, wants to squeeze you in a long game maybe, wants to make some weaknesses in your camp, some small weaknesses, and win an endgame, maybe an isolated pawn structure or something like that. And with this opening you make clear that you want no draw, that you are the one who wants to attack his king and want to go for a full point. So also from a psychological point of view, it's a very good choice to play the King's Indian. Yeah, so that's what I can say at the moment. From here now on, we look at the different possibilities for the white side, because in this position, one of the main positions in the classical main line, and especially the main position in the bishop e3 line, white has several options, which we will analyze now. So I hope you will enjoy it. So let's look at them.
Hi, this is Grandmaster Damian Lemos. First of all, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you would like to receive more free chess videos from us, you can just click the subscribe button below. I would also highly recommend signing up for my free mail course, The 10 Grandmaster Secrets to Dominate Chess. During this exclusive course from onlinechesslessons.net, I'll share with you my own Grandmaster shortcuts to effective attacking, defending, and growth hacks to improving your chess without complicated books or memorization. So sign up by clicking the sidebar on the right, and I know you won't be disappointed. Once more, this is Damien for onlinechesslessons.net, and I'll see you in my videos. Thank you.